So we are going to focus on factorization. So in this topic, you have to know that the most essential thing is common factors. So on the first question, number 8, it says 3x squared plus 6y squared. Then you must find the common factor. So when you find the common factor, you must know that 3 is the common factor because 3 goes into 3x squared and 6y squared. Then we put it there as the common factor, right? Meaning that whatever that remains in the bracket, therefore, is your coefficient of 3. Then, because right now they said factorize the following by finding the common factor, you leave it like that. You leave it as 3 open brackets x squared plus y squared close brackets. Then the second one is 3x cubed plus 6xy squared. And on this one you have to check also the common factors of this equation, which is also 3 and x. In this case is 3 and x. Then you put 3 and x out of the bracket, then you put everything inside the bracket, meaning that you say 3x open brackets 3 squared plus 2y squared. Why did I say x squared here? Because of this cubed. When you multiply this x, 3x multiplied by x squared, it is going to give you 3x cubed, right? Then that's why, that's how it is. Okay, sharp. On the number C, we have 3a squared b minus 4ab squared plus 12ab. Then the common factor of this guy here is ab. These two are the common factors. Then you put them out of the bracket as I did here. Put them out of the bracket, then you put everything inside the bracket. That 3a minus 3a, remember that because of this square, meaning that we are going to minus 1 there, there's going to be 3a, right? Minus 4b plus 12 minus 4b. Because of this, it's going to be minus 1 there, that is why it's b. Hence, so plus 12, because you see when we multiply 12 by ab, it's going to give us 12ab. So hence is 12 as the whole number. Then when we go to the number D, we have what? We have 11 abc squared minus 22a squared b plus 33 ab squared d, right? The common factor of this guy 11 and what? And ab, because 11 multiplied by 2 is going to give us 22, multiplied by 3 is going to give us 33. So we have ab in all this equation, meaning that ab is our common factor, meaning that we have 11 ab as our common factor. Then you have to take it out of the bracket. When you take it out of the bracket, because here we have this guy here, meaning that ab, when you take it out here, it's going to give you c squared. Then when you take it out from 22ab squared, okay, you're now here, right? It's going to give you 2a because of this squared here, right? Then plus, when you divide this thing, it's like when you're dividing, actually, let me just say it's like division. When you divide this side, it's going to give you 3 bd. Why bd? Because we know them, the rules of exponential rules, right? Whenever you exponents divide, meaning that if it's ab squared, okay, this is supposed to be the common division, right? Meaning that if it's a squared divide by a, therefore it says that a squared minus 1 You see, I remember making grade 11 with the sorts. So meaning the final one is a. Those are the rules of exponentials. So meaning that here, whenever we divide, it's going to minus 1 there. Hence, we have b, d. Then we don't have a because obvious. You see that one. See that one. That one. Then let's go number D. Number E, sorry. We have what? 3 over 2x squared plus 5 over 2xy minus 1 over 2x y squared, sorry. So because of that, remember, check all these things. Here we have x, here we have x and y, here we have only y. So we cannot say that y or x is the common factor. Instead, we can just say that here we check 3 over 2 and 5 over 2 and 1 over 2. These things are common. Since we have common denominators, meaning that our common factor is 1 over 2 as our common factor. So here, this was just a mistake here. So you cannot do it like this because of the y there. So meaning that you have to say 1 over 2 open bracket is equal to, therefore you have to say x squared plus 5y xy minus y squared. Why is it like that? Because when you come here, okay, let me just use the black one. When you get here, you have to know that that 1 over 2 multiply by 3x squared is going to give you 3x squared minus 2, which can be written as 3 over 2x squared, like that, you see. So even here on, is it 5 over 2 xy, similar, you can divide. So if we multiply, let me just say, if we multiply 1 over 2 by 5xy, we're going to get what? We're going to get 5 over 2 xy. That's our final answer. So hence that is why 1 over 2 is the common factor of this equation. So the last one on this factorization, because I don't want to make the video to be long, is that we have 12a cubed b squared c minus 16a squared b squared plus 24a now here we have 4. Then okay, that's it. Then here you have to get the common factor. First thing, you have to check everywhere. Do you have? We have a b, meaning that our ab is the common factor. We have ab. So let's check here on the numbers. Or does this number have a common factor? Nah. So this number does have a common factor, which could be about 3 or 4, if not mistaken. Yeah, it's 4, meaning that 4 goes into 16 4 times, and 4 goes to 24. 24, how many does 4 go there? Is it okay, but 4 does go here. Is it about 6 times, if not mistaken? And 4 goes to 12 about 3 times, meaning that we have what? 4ab as a common factor. Therefore, we are going to say our answer is going to be 3a squared. Alright, before we go there, let's check how many times. Let's check our exponents. When we check our exponents, we have 3 cubed, we have 2ab squared, we have b squared b, what, meaning that we can just say that our is we have 4 squared and multiplied by b squared as a common factor, right? So meaning that we have this as a common factor. Therefore, we are going to have 3 a c, because this have to be out. Therefore, we have about 4 only, because it is squared, right? Therefore, we have about 6 a squared multiplied by b. If this is 5, then we have a b raised to 3. Then we have our c multiplied by c cubed. Alright, so this is the final answer. This is how you factorize with common factors.